Everybody, welcome to Snow Talk on this Thursday. It's sad when I have to keep thinking what day it is, losing track. Before we get into the details of what is ahead of us, quick look at the stats. See, normal today that hasn't moved much. 5.5, we should be closer to 8 inches of snow at this point in the season. Of course, well ahead of last year, but it's not too far behind. Yeah, we're almost 3 inches behind normal, but a lot can happen in late February and March around here. You guys know how that plays out. I know, although some of you don't count March snows as part of the season, but technically it is. All right, here's the latest look at the satellite image, and we've had some high-level clouds streaming in for this morning period, most of them limited to Indiana. A lot of blue sky to the south of Louisville, but really, we're in really good shape here today, guys. It's just cold out. Yeah, I get that, but the cold air, the core of it, which is centered across the Great Lakes in the northeast, is now on its way out. It's lifting to the north and east, and we're going to get more and more of a southerly flow developing now that the core of high pressure is entering southern areas of Missouri. So things will improve. And as we warm up, I don't want to lose sight of the weekend, but the warm-up is decent. It's nothing earth-shattering, but there is a chance to hit 60. In fact, some of the latest data coming in right now is suggesting that 60 is a little more reachable. I have 59 in. Not a huge difference. But that is still a possibility. Also, just keep in mind, when we're talking about days like that when it's 59 or 60 and you get a gusty wind like we will have tomorrow, keep in mind it does add somewhat of a chill feel to it, especially if we can get cloudy, and there will be some high-level clouds streaming in. So it'll be a warmer day, but it may not feel like it exactly. I don't think anyone's going to complain. At least I hope not. But then we get into the setup as we get into this weekend. And this is where we got some questions again. And how I'm going to do this is I'm just going to show you a model interpretation of the moisture coming through, and then we'll not focus on the specifics just yet, but give you a general idea of what we're looking at. When you see this map, this blue line here is where the rain-snow line typically is aloft. It's where like in the situation with the icing event, the warm air was dominant while it was still cold at the surface. Well, this is where you would get snowflakes to be generated and you avoid a freezing rain deal. That's what that line typically means, not always. The white line is where we have the freezing line at the surface, where you can freeze up, and typically they are displaced, but pretty close together in most cases where you have a sharp front. So let's go forward here with that in mind, and as we do so, you'll see that tomorrow, both of those lines are well to the north. That's good. There is going to be a pretty decent snow event. In fact, a lot of banding of snow on the radar likely tomorrow in Illinois, Missouri, Illinois, Indiana, and Ohio. So if you're traveling there, there will be quite a few delays and travel issues. It's a classic setup along a warm front like that to get some decent snow way to our north. Then we head into Saturday, and this is where our rain will kick in. And there's a couple of waves involved in this setup here for the weekend. The first wave will arrive, and it looks like the way it's aiming itself across Tennessee into Kentucky is that the energy is going to take a majority of the rainfall over Kentucky, not so much over Indiana. I can't rule out showers in Indiana, but Kentucky looks to get the brunt of it. This will be Saturday afternoon, Saturday night, even as we get into the pre-dawn hours of Sunday. Still, the majority of it focusing on Kentucky versus Indiana. But at the same time, the northern part of this wave begins to show up, and notice we got the rain snow lines starting to work their way, and the freezing line working their way closer to us. In fact, around say 4 or 5 a.m. Sunday, they get close. Now the core wave is already to our east, but it's still a little bit disjointed here in the middle. There will be a dry pocket in the middle of that. Just about every model pretty much has that, by the way. But there is somewhat of a freezing line issue trying to develop in the northwest fringes of wave country. Right now, we'll put that small chance in for Sunday morning. I think it's going to be closer to Lafayette, Terre Haute, Indianapolis for them to worry about. But the thing is that colder air that arrives, it's going to keep settling to the south. It doesn't so much aloft, but it does at the surface. And that's important for Sunday night into Monday because yet another wave is going to develop and then move to the north and east. Now, the exact track of the second one still varies on the models. Some take it closer to southeast Kentucky, some take a little more east of the Smoky Mountains. That has to be answered. Secondly, we've got to figure out how much of a push do we have of that cold air from the north and west. Some bring it all the way into central Kentucky, and some kind of linger it closer to the Ohio River, as you're about to see. So here we are. This is about midnight Monday. We have the second wave forming, freezing line at the surface close to us, the rain snow line aloft still to our north and west. And then as we get into about 4 or 5 a.m. Monday, great timing, the freezing line, it's showing snow here, but I don't think it's going to be a situation of snow. I think it's going to be freezing rain or just plain rains that we're talking about. But that freezing line gets right up against the Ohio River for at least a few hours. So we'll watch it. There is a chance for some freezing rain ability. Right now, I think Indiana has a greater potential to see this chance happen, but it's not locked in. And you can see the rain-snow line way to the north, so I still think it's going to be more of a freezing rain deal. Anyway, it could accumulate, again, mainly on elevated objects if it does, because the ground temps, thanks to this warm weather coming, may help counterbalance, again, the roadways. Indiana is a little different sometimes. Your ground is a bit colder than Kentucky, but I think that may at least play a favor into how this will play out for us. So that's how it looks. Two pieces. One Saturday night and Sunday, mainly rain for Kentucky. The second one is Sunday night and Monday. It's that second one that may have a bit of freezing rain on the northern side. That's the whole story I want you to get from that whole ramble I just did. After that, we have another one that moves in. This will be around Valentine's Day or the day after. I think it will start raining. It looks like the Valentine's at some point. But the bulk of it will be on Thursday, the 15th. It does look to be rain until the wave passes by, and then we get colder air behind it. May end as a bit of snow. Not too impressed with that. And then the next one starts to show up. So what is the deal? Are we going to see this? We were talking about for a while, this flip around Valentine's Day, the colder weather. And a lot of the signal analysis that we've been looking at, it indicated just after Valentine's Day. I was leaning a little more toward that period of time, but it looks like the just after is actually going to end up being the way it's going. Because when you look at this is looking at the Arctic Oscillation. When you see this is the main line, the black line. When you see it go negative, the polar vortex, if you will, in Canada, the cold air gets displaced. It's on the move. And this is the Euro at the top and the GFS at the bottom, and I've kind of lined them up in pieces here to where they're lined up in the same dates. But you see what's happening as we look into mid-February. We have the lines here, the most recent model run anyway, showing the circles. It's starting to tank as we went into about the 16th and 17th of February, and GFS did the same thing. Now, it's correcting itself. You see how it wasn't really too gun-ho about it in previous model runs, these other little swiggy lines, and now suddenly it's trying to react to it. So is it a trend? Don't know yet, but it's something that's interesting to see anyway. And when you look at the NAO, the North Atlantic Oscillation, whenever it goes negative, which I thought I loaded that in. Sorry about that. Maybe it's the next one. Oh, there it is. Okay. Scared me. Okay, the North Atlantic Oscillation, when it goes negative, you get more of a blocking setup. You get somewhat larger systems, and you get in some cases, ones that cut up to the Appalachians and create some decent winter events and heavy rain events too. But it's a more stormy setup basically for the eastern seaboard when we see it go negative. And sure enough, the NAO on the Euro tanked, and so did on the GFS. So they're trying to say that the eastern part of the country is wanting to go colder and wanting to at least become more stormy. It's not a guarantee on that, but at least some of the signals are lining up. And when you look at the MJO, though, and it's really complicated to explain all this, but basically when you get over here to phases 8 and 1, you're dealing with colder weather for our neck of the woods, and it's really not showing we're going to get there until after the 18th. But it keeps us there until the beginning of March. Keep that in mind.